Okay, so listen, I've been really struggling with section 2.15. I don't know if, I'm sure guys, shh. I have your notes out, Rex? Okay, I just can't see. All right, so listen, 2.15 is ridiculous the way it's been given to us. And so I spent a lot of time yesterday going through it. Your notes are different than mine. You saw that kind of happening recently. I was trying to change mine or change yours. It was a lot. So then I looked at, if you remember last quarter, I had pulled out, one day I gave you a new set of notes. It was from another person called Brian Passwater. He's another big AP guy. And because I liked his notes better. That's what's going to happen tomorrow. So don't do it now, but you're going to be able to get rid of all of your 15, A and B. It's a lot of paper, so I feel really bad, but it's better than trying to force something down your throat that you don't even need. It's just she went really deep into it. So again, that's why I skip things sometimes. I cross things out because I really spend a lot of time. I want you guys to understand. I spend a lot of time making sure what I cover is what you need. And don't go way, sometimes we go a little bit outside of it, of course. We're not just teaching to the test, but sometimes her stuff goes way, way far. So that's why we skip things, cross things out, that kind of thing. So don't be nervous about that. So what I'm getting at is 2.15 is going to be scrunched down to one day. It's pretty simple. It's something you've never seen before. It's something I never taught before, but it's kind of cool. We're just going to do it in one day. And then I was like, 213, 214, 215. It's a lot of repetition, lots of solving equations with words and stuff like that, and you'll see today. So what I think I'm going to do is make these three sections a quiz. And we might just review on Thursday. I'll make you a quiz review and have a quiz on Friday and be done with this unit. So that's what I'm thinking I'll know for sure tomorrow. And then next week we'll do our progress check on Monday on the laptop. So start thinking about bringing that next Monday. And then start Unit 3, which is over there waiting for you, on Tuesday, which is trig. Okay, so just want to kind of give you a heads up. And towards the end of class, I'm going to do that homework check like I promised too. Okay, so we are using our calculators again. And what I love about these sections is that we keep coming back to those same steps, just different equations. We've done tons of things on this calculator, but the bottom line is the steps is the same, and that's what we're going to do right here. So what we're doing is determining the equation of a log regression. That's like a y-hat equation. It's a predictive. Given some information, let's make an equation out of it. So go ahead and clear your RAM, which you should do every time you pick it up for the first time. And we're going to go to stat. So everybody pick up your calculators. Don't just watch me. Hit enter, and then type in your x's and your y's. And then we'll wait till everybody's ready, and we'll go to the next step. Yay, Luke. You got them on both sides of you, Luke. Okay, do we have our data in? And always remember to hit enter after that last y value, okay? Because sometimes I forget, and I'll leave the cursor on the 6, and then you'll get an error message. So you have to, enter it. All right, then we go to stat again, over to calculate, and we're looking for the log one. So if you use your arrow and scroll down, number 9 is what we're looking for. It says LN regress. That's the natural log regression. That's what we use for logs on the computer, on the calculator, sorry. So it's number 9. You can arrow to it or hit 9 in the future. Sorry. Stat, calc, and then you can either hit number 9 or you can scroll to it. Are you on this step? Yep. Should say LN reg at the top. Yep. Go down to store. Remember what we press here? Alpha, then what? Trace. And we're saying enter, yeah. What that's doing, again, is the equation we're about to get, it's going to store it up in the y equals, so then we can do stuff with it. That's what that does for us, instead of having to type it in. Calculate, we hit enter, and it gives you an equation up at the top. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that, but it gives you where you're plugging in your A and your natural log x at the back. Okay, so we get a is negative 2, blah, blah, blah. So y hat, that's your regression, is approximately negative 2.646. I'm just following the formula at the top, plus b is 4.654 natural log x. There's your log regression function. Okay, what this will be used for is to make some predictions. Now, even though we don't need to graph it for the next two equations, if you hit graph, you'll see a log. Okay, there's a log graph. But let me just take it a step further and remind you, we haven't done it in a while. If you go to stat plot above y, so second stat plot, hit enter, and then see how it says the plots are off? If you just hit enter again, now we're on, and go back to your graph and see what you see now. So what that did is it plotted these points for us, and it shows us how we told it to make it a log. Okay, we could have said a line. If we had said on calculate, it would have made a line through them as best as it could. But this is a log, and so you can see it's pretty good at hitting most of the points, right? So that's what we just did. But this next question is, use this function to predict f of x when x is 10. So we're given 10. They want to know what y is, right? F of x is y. So anytime this happens, when we're given x and we want y, we can just use the table. Okay, nice and easy. You go to your table, you either enter where you want it to start or scroll to it, and you can see y is approximately 8.07. It says to round to the nearest tenth, so let me fix that, 8.1. Good. Another oldie but a goodie, residual. This keeps popping up as well. This is on your formula sheet. The formula sheet gives, or this formula for residual is y minus y hat. Okay, that's what residual is. That is the difference between your actual data, that's in the table, that's what actually happened for whatever this problem is, versus our predicted. And that's your y hat. So this is just giving us a best equation for this information, okay? So it's asking for 4.45. That just came right out of the table. That's your actual data, okay? So my residual would be 4.5, right, y, not x, minus, at x is 4, y was 4.5 for our actual data. On our y hat, our regression, go up to 4, you can see it right there. It gave us 3.8058. So when I subtract them, that will give me my residual. And we get a positive answer of 0.6942. That is your residual, your R. So our prediction underestimated what actually happened. It's not what actually happened. We're just comparing the data. Yeah. R. Yeah? My sister and I finally had Christmas this weekend, and she was out of town, so for kids and my kids and stuff, and her wrapping paper was in sign language. It was spelled out Merry Christmas. I took a picture of it. Okay. Any questions on that first example? Be quick, you're going to miss stuff. Quick. Okay. The table below represents the speed of a, whatever that is, a rowing boat, okay, used in the sport of competitive rowing. So they give us time in minutes, speed in meters per second, I'm guessing. I said miles per second last period. I'm like, wait, that's not true. Miles per second doesn't make sense. I guess that's meters, okay? So they give us this information. Again, let's find so read the directions and know what it's asking. So when you're taking a test, you're not like, well, what's a log regression function? That's what we just did. So clear it out by clearing your RAM, and then go ahead, not that, go to your stat and enter it in. Okay, so this is the last one I'm going to have you do, so just do it with me real quick. Stat, enter. you feel confident, go ahead to your next step. Stat, calc, number 9. Alpha trace, enter, enter, enter. And I get 1.541 plus 2, 9.588, oh, no, 58, sorry, that's a 5. Natural log x, so 2.5. Okay. There's your regression equation. Good? The only question we're going to worry about down here is use the best model to find when f of x equals 8. So in that last one we did up at the top, it said it gave us x and asked for y. This is saying what is x when y is 8, right? Understand what that notation means. Y equals 8. Sometimes we can use the table. Okay, so if I go to the table and I try to find y is 8, I'm not going to find it. I could find like what it's between. So if this was multiple choice, I could probably get, close to it because my answer should be, oh, sorry, I'm not there yet. Y is 8. So it's going to be somewhere around here, right, when y is 8. But there's no exact 8. We want to know exactly 8. So what do we do? How do we use our calculator to find that? Does anybody remember the function we use? Intersection. Yep, intersection. So we have to graph this. So go to y equals at the top. Remember, we stored it. We told it alpha trace enter. So we have the actual regression already in there. We don't have to type it. And it's always better to use the calculator version than type it because it's putting all the digits in. And then in y sub 2, I'm going to put 8. So whenever you're trying to find x, when you know y, you can use intersection. But you have to graph it, and you have to be able to see the intersection. Now, I can see where I know it is. It's way to the right somewhere, or I don't know how far to the right. So I'm going to go to window. That's what you were thinking, Aaliyah. And I'm going to change which one? X max, right? That's to the right. So let's put in 50, see what it looks like. Remember, you can change it as many times as you want. And I see it. Now watch, when I do intersection, second, calc, 5, all of a sudden there's a bunch of stuff at the top where my intersection is. I can no longer see the intersection. Okay? So I'm going to go back to window. You're not hurting anything. And I need to move my window up so I can get those numbers out of the way. So that would be y max. I don't know. I'll put in 50. Sounds good. I can always change it. So just something to think about to save time. If your intersection or whatever you're trying to find is way at the top, you might want to move your window up a little bit. And that's, even though that's not a great picture, it's perfectly fine, okay? This is really a loose kind of way of doing it. I mean, it's really easy to do, to find the intersection, but you don't have to do a whole lot of moving around. The more I work with it, too, I'm like, wow, I could just hit enter. You can almost hit enter, enter, enter 3 times and get the answer, but I'm just still more cautious about it. So I see my cursor, enter right there. And then I actually, sorry, go ahead. I did not. So when I went to calc, it's already there. But yours might be somewhere else. Don't worry about it. Wherever it is, I would just hit enter. Unless you're really far away, you can't find it. I don't know what the reasoning is. Maybe it's the window. Sometimes it's hard to see where it is, so I'm hitting left and right till I find it. But if it's on my screen, I'm going to hit enter. And even though my picture is really bad, it always jumps to the horizontal line. So I know, because of experience and you're learning, that it's there. I can just hit enter right here. And then guess, yes, and it gives us our x value. When you can see y is 8, that is your x value. So we get x is approximately 12.484. Okay, what does that mean? It means that, I did this backwards last period, so I'm being careful. The boat will reach a speed, right? Remember what x is. X that we just found is time, okay, will reach a speed of, speed is y, 8 miles per second at about our x value, which is time, 12.5 minutes. Okay. So see how I stumbled through that? That's what you're going to have to do. You have to think, because you know in FRQs and stuff, they're asking you to explain what is x, what is y, use your table or the directions and say, okay, I know y, which is speed, is 8. What did I just find? Oh, at what time it reaches a speed of 8 meters per second. Okay, so be able to explain it in words. That's really important, right? Questions? We're almost done. Stay with me. We're not going to do this whole question, okay? But I want to talk about it. There's a lot of data to type in. Don't worry about it. But let me tell you what this is about. Because I just want to talk about what we would do on our calculators to do this. So a university study on sleep, Hakeem, a university study on sleep related to caffeinated drinks is shown in the table below, okay? So the participants were given 250 milligrams of caffeine in his or her bloodstream, and then the caffeine level is measured at various times. So this is the amount of caffeine in their blood after this many hours, okay? So this is your X values, this is your Y, and it threw me off the first time I saw this because time is usually X, but not always, and that's one of the reasons I want to talk about this. We just take the information and we go with it. Now, when you put all of this in your calculator and you do what we did on those last two problems, you would get a regression formula of this. So let's just trust me that that's what you get when you type all that in. I'm just not making you type it. Now, I just want to talk about the 4 questions below because I am finding that my students are struggling a little bit with understanding what the questions are asking for. So we're just going to talk about it. Not going to do it, but if you want to, of course, the key will be on Canvas if you want to go check it out. Okay? So now we're going to answer questions using that. So what this first question is, find the time. That's what we're trying to find. It takes to metabolize half of the caffeine in their bloodstream. So if 250 is what was given, 50% would be 125. So I just want you guys to know where I got that. 250 is what they're given, half. How much time does it take for it to go by? So we don't know why in this problem because time is y. We don't know why, but we're given half, which is 125. Do you see how you have to know what x and y is? So this is the question I'm going to ask you. Given x, how do you find y? Is that a table or an intersection question? Table. X is, remember, you can go to your table in your calculator if you would save this, and you can find x is 125. Even if it's a decimal, remember you can change the table to count by 0.1s or whatever. It's y's, given y's trying to find x, that's the intersection. Let's go to the next one. Avery drank an energy drink containing that much at 9 a.m. How much caffeine will be in his bloodstream 10 hours later? So we are given time, right? We are given y is 10. We want to know how much caffeine, which is x. Is that table or intersection? Intersection. This is what I'm getting at. I want you guys to remember this. It's come up in every new equation we've done throughout this year. So it makes me think this is a big concept for you guys to know for the exam. 2 more. The study found the majority of participants were able to sleep when their caffeine levels reached below 70 milligrams. Find the time. Find time. Okay? That's what we don't know. It's the nearest hour for the body to metabolize the caffeine to reach 70 milligrams. So time is y. We don't know why. We do know how much caffeine, which is 70. That would be table. See, we're getting confused. That's why I'm doing this. Remember, when you go to your table, your x's are usually the nicer ones. Okay, y is what gets kind of tough. X is 70, what is y? Okay, last one. Using the regression equation, find the x-intercept. to the nearest tenth. Explain the meaning of the x-intercept. Okay, so an x-intercept is, what is this when y is what? 0. Intercepts are 0. So it's saying, when y is 0, what is x? Table or intersection? Intersection. And I'm hoping that if you thought it was table, you go to your table, and I'm kind of generalizing it. There could be y is 0 in your table. So maybe if you want to check there first. But if it's not there, because a lot of times, especially with logs and stuff, there are a lot of decimals. So if it's not there, you're going to have to do intersection. Okay? It's just what you have to do. All right. So last question is a review of what we did on Friday, and you have one or two in your homework today, is just given some information and a equation that represents it, some science person came up with it. Can you take what you're given, plug it in the appropriate place, and solve for the variable? So that's what we did on Friday. Here it is again. The wind speed s. So you have to read, right? You have to. You can't just like say, oh, it's a slope and a y-intercept. I know where those go. It's different equations every time. The wind speed in wind speed is s, in miles per hour near the center of a tornado is related to the distance d in miles that the tornado travels by this equation. So they give us the equation, no memorizing, right? A tornado whose speed was 220 per hour struck a town in Nebraska. How far is that? So we don't know d, one of the two variables, and then the speed is given as 220 miles per hour. Okay? So we have to plug in 220 miles for S of D and solve for D. It's important. You have to know where to plug it's not a really complicated formula. There's only two variables, but you have to know that speed is the S and D is distance, which isn't hard to kind of know, but some of these sciencey formulas, they use different letters than we would expect. So you have to be able to pull the information out and then solve it. So this is what we did on Friday, Hakeem. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but we're just going to solve this for D. So at first, we're just using our normal basic equation solving skills. Subtract 65, we get 155. What do we do next? Divide. Good, thank you. And some of these steps aren't shown in the key in the homework, and you're like, how did you get to this point? Well, just know you don't have to show all these steps. I know you're using a calculator. 5/3. I changed my decimal to a fraction. Math, enter, enter. But that's not the answer, right? That's log D. We want just D. So in a log equation, if there's logs on both sides, I can cancel. Don't have that. So instead, we're going to do the rewriting in its other form. Remember, that's a base 10 if you don't see it. We can do 10 to the 5/3 equals D. So D equals 10 to the power of 5 over 3, right? 10 to the 5/3 equals D. And then we can just put that in our calculator. 10 power 5/3, and say to round to, no. So D is approximately 46.416 miles away. That's what it's saying. How far did it travel if its speed was 220 miles per hour? Okay? All right. Short homework. If there's any problems with this, please don't hesitate to ask me. If you had any problems with anything in the calculator, you weren't getting the same answer, you have a question, I am here to help you. All right, so on part 5, it says to omit part C. So if you go to number 5, just cross off C. You don't have to do part C. And people keep doing number 4 by accident, so you might want to just cross it out. I mean, you can, but it's just more of the same stuff. As I really make sure I don't give you busy work. So when I assign homework, do it. Do the homework. There's a reason I pick those problems. I skip problems. Do we all have it written down? Okay, write it down so I can get rid of that. Practice set 2. Does it look the same though? I don't know. The end of your notes are so different from the end of my notes. So she must have made changes to that packet after I printed them or something. Oh, sorry. I thought you could see it. I'm so sorry. Let's make sure you write that down so I can put up the key. And I am having a homework check in a little bit. Omit. Don't do part C, number 5. I already showed you guys. I would cross off number 4 because everyone keeps doing it, and then part C of number 5 you don't have to do. Okay? Yes. Darn well should be. Although, look at the floor there. It looks like I looked at those little pieces of white. They are from my ceiling, but I don't see where the ceiling is really broken. It's a teeny tiny part. So I'm like, are there rats or something?